Most people quit before they see results, not because they're lazy, but because they lack discipline. And I know that was me for a long time because I feel like they have to change everything all at once. I know that was me, especially with fitness, getting in shape, losing some weight. It seemed like there was all these components, and you wanted to get it all right because you didn't want to feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to waste my time putting in the time and energy. And when things feel impossible, a lot of us, we don't even try. We don't even attempt or put forth the effort. We might dabble a bit, maybe a month or so, a couple, but sometimes we tell ourselves these stories that we're on this thing, we're doing this thing, until eventually we're off. That's very common when people are even wanting to get in shape for a wedding or a reunion or whatever. They want to have long-term results, but their mindset and their thinking and their habits are really just building up to that moment and then giving up. And rarely is it ever like, hey, I'm totally quitting right now. It's more of a drifting off course. But if you've ever told yourself that you need to wait for the right time to start, or that you just don't have the time to stay consistent, that was a big one for me. I would calculate all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I want to commit to this. I know that I've got to commit to at least a half hour a day. For me, the mind blower was the fact that I needed to exercise 6 days a week. I could tell myself a story how I did not have a half hour a day, 6 days a week. Are you kidding me? That's a big time commitment. That's the story I was telling myself. So that mindset, and maybe that's you, maybe it's not, but it keeps many people stuck in this same cycle over and over and over. We get to a point where we're like, okay, I'm at a tipping point. I got to do something. And then we go to commit for it. And then we tell ourselves some stories. We feel a little bit overwhelmed. And then we end up quitting. And we don't even make progress. Or we make a little bit of progress, but not anywhere that's near what we're wanting to do. And the truth is, it's not about the time. We will make up a big story on how we don't have time. It's just how we think about time. You know, we don't need to have hours every day. And that was in my head. You know, we could put a big story around all this other stuff we got going on in our life. So the very thing that we want, we better put that on hold, right? You don't need to overhaul your entire life. That's what I ended up discovering. You just need to start in a way that makes success feel possible. And so that was one of the big things that I knew when I started to take responsibility for my actions instead of giving into external circumstances. That was because when you've got circumstances around you, it's easy to point the finger and say, well, I can't do it for this. Like I'm overwhelmed. I'm overworked. I'm overweight. I can't do this. Plus, and for me, I was running a dog rescue. I had a home business for video and web design. I was a full-time teacher. I had an hour commute back and forth. I could build myself such a case against being able to spend a half hour's worth of time exercising, right? We're going to talk about this today. I'm going to give you some strategies before we do all this stuff. Make sure you head over to talktoperry.com. I'm going to put that right in the lower third there if you're watching on the video. If you're not and you're just listening to this and saying, Perry, what's the lower third? Well, that's just a little overlay in the video saying, go over to talktoperry.com. It's open for podcast listeners and viewers. And it's all about keeping your energy high so that you can hit all of your goals. And I want to help you recharge that mental and physical battery of yours so that you can reclaim your power. We do that in 15 minutes. Whoa. Now there's a time saver, less than a half hour workout, right? Talktoperry.com. So when something feels too big, the brain likes to resist. You know, it sees change kind of as a threat instead of this opportunity. You know, we might be excited at the opportunity at the beginning, but then also we'll get into this overthinking mode. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But people can feel motivated one day, completely stuck the next. Has that ever been the case with you? Yeah, me too. So if you've ever set a goal, then you've suddenly felt like, oh, I just don't have any energy to follow through. Well, here's why. It's not about your willpower. A lot of times people think they have to have willpower. Um, I will say there is a power of having will to do it, but it is about your mind and how your mind is processing the task. I know we're going to get into some cerebral stuff here, but the brain just doesn't like uncertainty. So when you think about making changes, working out, eating healthy, and then we start to feel like we'll put a story behind it on how we're going to be deprived and never be able to eat again. Your brain's categorizing these things as this massive disruption. Why would you do that to us? And it can create stress, and that stress can evolve into excuses. We sometimes won't call them excuses. We'll rationalize and reason and negotiate with ourselves, but they're excuses. So this is why people will say things like, I don't have time. I'll start when things slow down. I need to really get my schedule in order first. Have you ever used that one? None of those are actually about time, although we will defend it. I don't know why I put up the fist or whatever. I guess that's defending. But they're about the feeling, that we can get into. And it's really just that feeling that we can't handle everything all at once. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. So, and people think motivation's the answer. I just need to get motivated. And I think that's just some programming and conditioning over the years on this motivation. I've heard a motivational speaker. I got to get motivated. I got to do this. You know what? It's here one day and gone the next. Motivation, it has to come after action. Sometimes we wait for motivation to get into action and it doesn't happen. And so when it doesn't happen, we don't take action. But if we just start being disciplined and taking action anyway and staying consistent, then that motivation may or may not kick in right away, but it's more possible that it will kick in more often than if you wait for motivation to take action. So shorter commitments. Instead of trying to do everything at once, adjusting your schedule around what's realistic instead of ideal. I think that happens for a lot of people at the beginning of the year when it comes to resolutions. We'll see a gym membership discount or some sort of streaming service that we get, or maybe there's just a group that we can join or whatever. We get excited about that, but we really don't look at how it will play out in our schedule. And then eventually we could easily say, well, I just don't have time. We give up on it. So, and I'm going to tell you how I totally reversed that and made things happen. Another one is giving yourself permission to do something instead of nothing. The people who succeed, they're the ones that make the most dramatic changes. Well, they're not the ones that make the most dramatic changes, but they're ones that, keep going no matter what. And the dramatic changes eventually happen over time as a transformation, even when they're just showing up. And it might seem like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to have a transformation because I'm only doing a little bit. But that can add up over time. You've probably heard stories where, just people save just a little bit over time. And in the long run, things evolved into some compounding interest sort of thing. So it is that compound effect. So if you tell yourself it's an all or nothing thing, you're going to choose nothing. Okay. So here's what I ended up doing. I told you the story on where my schedule was at and why I couldn't commit to 30 minutes a day, why I couldn't commit to 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. So first of all, I'm just telling myself a story, and I had to get radically honest with myself. Do you want those results? Yes. And my results of what I was going for was just to lose the beer gut. That was it. It wasn't a dramatic, hey, I'm going to lose this many pounds or whatever. I want the beer gut gone. So I didn't even have to have ripped abs or anything like that. Then I started realizing when I was doing that long commute, I was negotiating with myself to get myself out of that workout. I'm like, it's cardio day. I don't like cardio. maybe I'll make up for it tomorrow. I'll just kind of do it, and I would promise myself I'd make up for it on the weekend or whatever, so I could get myself out of it. So I'd make a great argument on the way home for it. So I realized that, one, I was trying to negotiate myself out of it. Two, when I got home, I would always get home after a long day of teaching and a long hour commute, that I needed to just take time and unwind, get myself prepped, get myself motivated, and then go get my workout done. Motivation never kicked in. I'd find myself doing some other busy work, and I wouldn't get the workout done. Promised myself I'd make up for it. So there's two opportunities I'm trying to talk myself out of it, and I realized, what if you just showed up anyway? And what if you took that motivation time, that relaxation time after work, what if you made that your workout time? The brain went, ooh, I don't want to do that. That means we got to commit. We got to show up. I'm like, I'm going to do this anyway. And the way I would do things, like, I'm going to test this out for the next 30 days. Without me saying at the end of 30 days, I'm done with this, I did not have that mindset. I'm going to test this out for the next 30 days and then improve from there, adjust as necessary. But I'm going to keep going. And that's what I did. I used that time, got home, took care of the dogs, showed up for workout. Even when I was trying to talk myself out of it, I would just go, oh, you're trying to talk yourself out of it. You're going to show up no matter what. And here was the other factor in my no matter what plan. I committed because I realized it was more important for me to develop the habits of showing up for my workout than it was to see the results. And that was tough because I wanted the results, right? I wanted the gut gone. So I'm like, my commitment is, if I'm feeling unmotivated, a headache, something like that, or a big to-do list, something that would take me out of the game, I said I have to show up at least for 15 minutes out of that 30. If after 15 minutes, I'm done. Or most of the time, what would happen is, all I needed to do is get into motion and get the momentum going. After 15 minutes, and I knew the 15-minute clock was coming, I keep going. I'd be like, well, you're here already. You're already doing this. And I would finish 30 minutes after 30 minutes, and 6 days a week, religiously. I went for 3 straight months with that. The results, the gut was gone, 32 pounds released, and I was like, wow, what's next? That's a key. A lot of times people don't say what's next. A lot of times people will go, well, I been there, done that. And that was one thing to me. I went to maintenance mode, which meant old sneaky habits were really creeping back in. So I realized, I need to keep moving forward and not go back to old ways, because I knew where old ways were going to lead me. So that's why I tell people, hey, you know what? If you're wanting to work on, a plan for yourself and really get going on this, head over to talktoperry.com. That's where we can have a discussion on, what's the biggest energy drain for you, what's the biggest struggle. And I can tell you within 15 minutes what's going to get the biggest results for you and where to go, so that you can recharge that mental and physical battery of yours, reach your goals, and reclaim your power. Talktoperry.com. So, hey, I understand overthinking happens. Stop giving yourself these long deadlines. Like, I'm going to start next month, next week, and Monday. We always put things way off. You know what? Instead, if you're starting to say, I'm going to start next month, or as soon as I get done with this project. See, I used to work with a bunch of teachers. They would always say, well, I'm going to get started during the summer when I have more time, or during break when I have more time. It never happened, or rarely happened. I don't want to say never. But the faster you decide to start, the less resistance that you're going to feel. Just do today. Just do today, and then repeat that. And make the next step as easy as possible. That's what I started doing. I started to simplify, realizing I was making it difficult to get into the gym. Stop rationalizing and talking yourself out of it. Get into the gym right away after work. Commit to at least 15 minutes. Commit to and do the 30 if possible. So that's what I said. If going to the gym, if you're too overwhelmed to do an hour there, do 15 minutes. It will add up. The deal is just getting into momentum, progress. It's not about making perfect choices. It's just just about staying in motion, right? Keeping yourself going over time, because you want to make this a lifelong journey, right? That's what a lot of people want to do. Overwhelm, it's not about time. It really is about focus. And if you stop trying to change everything at once and just start with what's actually doable today, and you get radically honest with yourself, you're going to build that momentum. You don't have to be perfect. You don't even have to be motivated. And a lot of times that should feel freeing to you. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to get motivated. What will it be like for you to remove those 2 blocks from you? Those roadblocks, those barriers. You just have to stop making the goal feel so big and so overwhelming that you start talking yourself out of even trying. Progress, it comes from choosing action over hesitation. So just know you can choose to use your power and take control, use these tips that I just shared, or you can let the excuses, the overwhelm, the rationalization, sometimes people compare themselves, they let that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing to yourself and your goals and choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, simplifying, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. Drop those down in the comments. I promise I will reply. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.